Meeting to order. First in is the public comment period. Are there any public comments?
Yes, sir.
All right. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session for a personnel matter.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we adjourn for executive session for a personnel matter.
Is there a second? All right. All those in favor? All right. We will be back. That's a long meeting.
We got to fly for the rest of this.
All right, I need a motion to go
Mr. Chairman, I
back
make a
into...
motion that we return from executive session.
All right, all those in favor? All right, we're back into the regular session now in our agenda. All right, the first item for approval is minutes from the March 18th Finance Committee meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from March 18th meeting for the Finance Committee.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All those in favor? All right.
Yeah,
2 to
since
nothing.
Commissioner Terpsey's not on the committee.
No, but 2 to nothing.
He cannot second.
Okay, you can't, that's correct, okay. All right, this next one is item number 2, engagement of the auditors for the fiscal year 2026 audit. Mr. Owens, thank you.
Good afternoon. Well, we've been hurtling through this fiscal year pretty rapidly, and we're now entering fourth quarter. Back in fiscal year 2024, we issued a request for proposal on our audit services, and the firm Malden & Jenkins was selected to be our auditors for a one-year contract with 2 optional renewal years. We're now entering the 3rd optional renewal year. So the base charge for this upcoming audit would be $25,900. Additional charges would apply if a single audit is also needed, which it usually is. We receive significant funding from the federal government, so that usually triggers the single audit. So at this time of the year, it's common practice for us to send notice to the auditors that we wish to engage them for our annual financial audit. And this makes it official that we're exercising our renewal option under the contract. So at this time, staff is asking the Finance Committee to recommend the full commission approve engagement of the accounting firm Malden & Jenkins to perform the financial audit of the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, at a cost of $25,900.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that the Finance Committee recommend the full commission approve the engagement of the accounting firm Malden & Jenkins to perform the financial audit of Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, at a cost of $25,900.
all right, the motion, I'll second the motion. Is there any discussion on this? No? All those in favor? It passes 2 to nothing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next one is the 2027 organizational budget. Mr. Burrows?
Yes, sir. Can you turn the monitors off momentarily so I can look for something on the server?
Yes.
Understood.
We've got one that's still,
is,
You don't have to. You got some excuses if you need to use one.
All right, we're good to go. All right, commissioners. It is everyone's favorite time of the year once again as we talk about the fiscal year 2027 budget. You can turn it back on.
we got it?
Moving at the speed of my computer.
Isn't there a new one in the budget for you?
Aha. I scared it in. Byron showed up and it knew the man to fix it was here. All right, so this is our fiscal year 27 organizational budget request. This was presented as a draft form at the March committee meeting. There have been some minor tweaks along the way, so just putting in. Our goal for the budget year was, we know that we need to maintain affordability, but we also know that our costs are rising in very many areas, just not necessarily the way we're spending money, just the cost of things that we have to buy. We want to try to maintain that affordability by improving our efficiencies, things that we've done recently. We're hoping to turn the corner on some of our larger ticket items, and then we also want to increase our asset reliability by improving our preventive maintenance so that we're not having failures that are more costly at the time to repair. So our highlights for the budget: we are not requesting a rate adjustment in order to fund the budgeted amount that is here. We are able to do a repair and replacement reserve funding increase. And then we have combined, if you go to the individual line items, we have combined a few line items to simplify the budget. Some more supply type line items. We had about 6 or 8 different individual line item accounts that just were more of a nuisance than they were a help. So those have been combined into some similar items so that it's easier for staff to make sure things are allocated correctly. So our top line budget request this year is $42,524,000, I believe, $527,000, which is actually a 6.75% budget increase. Now, again, that 6.75% increase does not require us to increase rates. As far as budgeted revenues, where do the different pockets of money come from? 40% of our budgeted revenues would come from sewer revenues. That includes sewer usage charges, industrial surcharges for BOD and TSS from our industrial customers. And then technically leak adjustments go against sewer revenues. Water revenues at 22%, that is solely water usage charges. REU fees at 12%, admin fees at about 17.5%. About 2.25% comes from interest on our accounts. That continues to be a strong source of income for us. Planning and construction fees make up a very small portion of the budget. When Mr. Klein's team reviews plans, people do pay fees for that. And then everything else comes together at about 5.5% of the budget of what is titled other income. But that's things like septic hauler fees, scrap metal sales, things like that. So the highlights in general, the reason we're able to increase our budget by 6.75% without increasing rates: customer growth remains strong, particularly in the North Mainland area. We're seeing a lot of growth out there. And not only is growth remaining strong, our usage patterns are actually increasing per customer, and that has increased our revenue as well as a result. Now, we have actually, if you look at recent years, our interest income is exceeding budget. That has not been increased in the budget this year because we have some slight market uncertainties going on right now that may not portend well for us moving forward. We talked about customer growth. The blue is water customers' average bills per month, and the green is sewer customers' average bill per month. Over the past 5 years, we've seen an increase of 9% in water customers and 9% in sewer customers. It's an average somewhere in the, 4 total years, 5 years worth of data, 4 averages of a little over 2% average. We're actually projecting a smaller increase moving forward next year. A larger increase in sewer versus water customers because of the completed projects in Arco and Brunswick-Glynn as people are being brought on the system. This rate slide, every year we talk about how we compare to other similar-sized utilities and similarly located utilities. Average across these individual utilities is for our average customer usage is $71.74. At JWSC, that bill is $64.33. It's about a 10% reduction compared to average. That does not mean that we are underpricing our services. It just means that we're providing a good value for our customer base. Graph here are snapshots of where the revenues have come from annually. The green bar you see continually increasing is sewer revenues. Again, we bill sewer revenues based off of water meters. So as people use more water, sewer revenues also increase. The blue line is the water revenues. You see a steady increase. Purple, I think that's purple. I'll have to ask my wife, who's the art history major, is REU increase. Those purple, good. We'll go with that. I'm sure there's a more specific color. And then dark blue is the admin fees. Those are based off of just base account fees and things like that. So as our accounts grow, those numbers also grow. Expenses, what I like to tell everybody in a nutshell is about a third of your money goes to paying personnel, about a third of your money goes to operating, and about a third of your money goes to projects. It's not exactly that. About 31.5% goes to personnel, about 35% goes to operating, and between project reserve transfers and debt service, about 35% goes to that, and things of that nature. So our project reserve transfers net of debt service this year is over 25% of budgeted income. So a quarter of every dollar that people pay on their bill goes to capital projects. That's been a strong goal of us for many years because we can replace and repair assets and get widespread impact with those dollars. And so good to see those numbers continuing to increase. Staff expense highlights. We have combined some positions together. We're one staff member FTE down compared to last year's budget through the way we were able to combine positions with the reorganization we did in water and sewer. And then this budget includes a proposed 2.41% cost of living adjustment on July 1st. That is based off the Consumer Price Index put out by the Bureau of Labor. And then potential merit increases on top of that. The way our merit increases work,
It doesn't match.
there's a cap of 5% total. So each step is 1.3%, 2.41, 3.75%. So if you get a 4 out of 5 overall, you get an additional 1.3% on your anniversary. If you get a 5 out of 5 overall, you get an additional 2.6%, 2.59% on your anniversary.
So the maximum is 5%.
5%. Maximum is 5%. Now, it is very rare for somebody to get 5% because most people don't get a 5 out of 5 on their appraisal overall. We all have things we need to improve upon. So,
What would the average be on that?
most people are going to be most people that are going to end up working out are going to end up be in that 3.7% increase range.
Okay.
Because typically people either are doing really well or aren't doing so well, and we invite them to look for other opportunities. By division, about half of our expenses go to sewer. This is operating expenses only, does not include reserve transfers for projects. About half goes to wastewater, 16% to water. The governing body is now up to almost 2% due to reasons that we have all spoken about. Office of the Director is 3% of the budget. We'll go through an item later in the agenda as to why the Office of the Director is 3% of the budget. Admin's just shy of 7%. Now, we did shift some cost around in the admin budget. All of the software charges for organizational software that touches everyone, because IT is under admin, is in the admin budget now. So that's a lot of that is that software budget. If you look at those individual line items, you see the software budget seems to have gotten really skewed. It's the same, essentially the same amount of money it was before. It's just all in one place instead of spread throughout the budget.
Before you were doing by
division, and yeah.
Okay.
So now it's all going through admin.
But everyone uses,
Everyone uses it. They don't have control over those expenses. So it didn't make sense to charge that where they didn't have control over it. Finance,
and those kind of things are like the CitySoft and things like that.
CityWorks, the Harris ERP, Microsoft 365,
Yeah.
all of those things. Finance is 13% of the budget. Why is finance 13% of the budget? Well, that's where all of our health insurance costs are budgeted. So that's why that is a high percentage of the budget. Planning and construction is just shy of 6%, and purchasing just shy of 4% of the budget. So where is our budget increasing? The three largest increases in our budget The project budget for R&R reserve, when you hear we're putting money in reserves, people think, why aren't you spending the money? Well, R&R reserves, we are spending it because we're doing capital projects with it. So we're increasing the R&R reserve by just shy of $450,000. Electricity, we're budgeting to go up about $360,000 on electricity. We have seen some, this is based somewhat on trends and somewhat on an assumption that due to rising fuel costs, electricity costs are going to go up because they do pass along a fuel surcharge. And then group insurance, budgeted, our yearly claims are up significantly compared to previous years, and we're budgeting an increase in group insurance at $318,000.
Before we leave this on the projects, I had emailed you and asked you for some numbers. Back when we did the water production facility in 2021.
It was about $1.4 million.
Right, and now the latest one is closer to $5 million.
It's $5 million round.
So, I mean, we're facing a lot of higher costs, but yet
Absolutely.
we're not raising rates this year, so
Absolutely.
we're holding the line, so.
I mean, we talk about project funding between the R&R reserve, what we receive in capital improvement fees and ongoing SPLOST projects and stuff. We've already spent $20 million this year on capital projects. When Mr. Owens goes through the financial report, I mean, we're certainly doing a lot of investment in our system.
And I think the key to there is that we have to plan for the future, and we have to have everything in place for when it's needed. We can't be saying, oh, well, you can have water in 3 years from now. We have to have it available for people as the community expands.
Certainly. So where is the budget going down? Ms. Crosby's timing is beautiful. It's coming in. We're reducing our what's called machinery and equipment by $339,000 because we are not making any fleet purchases this year because Ms. Crosby's team is going through and creating a fleet master plan for our whole organization. So that way we get it. That's something we want to get done to help us smooth out those fleet expenses as best we can so we don't go $600,000 one year, $200,000 the next year. Insurance, this is not health insurance, this is our property liability insurance that, as Mr. McGinty presented to us last month, worked out very favorable for us on the property insurance this year. So that's a reduction of $149,000 in the budget, and our workers' comp insurance dropped just shy of $113,000 when Mr. Bridges presented that to us in December due to our improving safety record. And fingers crossed, but we're still seem to be doing fairly well so far this year, so we may see even a further reduction this year in December when we get that renewal. We also, in your packet, there is a document that includes a lot more information as well. That was just the highlights. And then we do have attached the individual line items. I am happy to go through as many or as few of those line items as you would like. In the line items, we have 2 years of actual data from FY '24 and '25 and projected based off of expenses at the end of revenues and expenses at the end of March. And then what the budget would be this year for the proposed budget. So as you can see, if you look at the proposed revenue numbers compared to projected revenue numbers, we're not being super aggressive with projection forward of growth. That's just consistency, what we've seen across the board.
Does anyone have any specific questions about different line items?
No, I would like next year for us to have your presentation. We have a hard time following along.
Well, if I give you that, then you jump ahead.
Yes, sir. We'll have better questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So other line items that went up significantly, that were just shy of that, the litigation line item went up. Oxygen did go up pretty substantially as well, but I will note, oxygen is going up based off of current expenses. We did begin piloting the control scheme today, but we don't have enough data to know what that's going to project forward. So hopefully that will actually be some flexibility in next year's budget moving forward.
Well, now he's on the line items.
The very back of the report.
So one question I have is, it looks like wastewater, the wastewater budget went down about $800,000 from what we're anticipating
Yes,
this
sir.
year.
That's mostly due to two issues. One, we've had, if you recall, when we've talked about at facilities meetings you may have been at, we were doing a ton of solids improvements at the plant. So our biosolids removal numbers are very high this year. And also, we have been going through and spending a ton of money fixing things. Mm-hmm. And so we talked about earlier, one of our goals is to improve our reliability because it is more expensive to fix when it's breaking than to keep it from failing in the first place. So that's a lot of why we expect that to happen. Our staff's doing a good job trying to get ahead of things, but we're playing catch up, and we've been playing catch up all year.
much of the community alignment stuff?
I did not go through that. I'm happy to, if you would like me to.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
All right, so we have should do a pop quiz. We have six core values in our organization. These are goals that were presented to our board at the January offsite workshop. And so our first to reduce our water and sewer unit costs by 5% per million gallons. Now, we are seeing higher flows because we're seeing higher customer base and higher usage rates, but if our unit costs go down, ultimately that results in consistent rates for our customers. Talked about the fleet master plan. We want to get a fleet master plan completed by the end of September so that as we work towards next year's budget, we have a programmatic way of approaching our fleet. Improved customer portal, we talked about at the facilities committee. One of the capital projects is to do an ERP implementation. Well, improving our customer portal is a major driver of that ERP implementation. And so we want to make sure that we have a schedule published to everybody of when it should be online by the end of this fiscal year. And then project information improvements. This is not a budget item necessarily, but we get most of our questions about two things. Why is my bill what it is, and what are you digging up down the street for me? So we want to get a public GIS dashboard where people can click. It's not going to have copies of the plans or anything like that, but if you can go on a GIS dashboard, go in and say, hey, this is what's going on in my street, this is what it's costing, everything like that. For community alignment, we want to update FOG is fats, oils, and grease. We want to update our FOG ordinances. Our FOG ordinances are very outdated and don't have a lot of flexibility built into the way they're written. So we want to update those by the end of September. Valve and hydrant crews, talk about increasing reliability of assets. Water distribution has had some staffing challenges, and as a result of those staffing challenges, we've had to not have what's known as our valve and hydrant crews. Those are two crews that the valve and line crew go out and exercise water valves and make sure they're functional, test them, and things like that. And hydrant crews go out and flow fire hydrants, which helps improve systems operations, improves pressures, reduces stagnant water in lines, and we also paint the hydrants. So our goal is to get to every valve once a year and every hydrant once a year. We've not been able to do that due to staffing challenges. So the goal there says valve and hydrant crews, but it's really a retention goal for those divisions.
How long has it been since we've been able to do that?
About 3 years.
We don't let the fire department do that.
They do that, yes.
They do.
Yes.
They're not as careful.
The fire department does what they're required to do to meet their fire department standards.
But we own it.
We end up fixing a few of them. ARCO sewer connections, we know we have the ARCO sewer project going on. Currently, I believe we got 16 customers tied on with the grant funds. Mr. Stone's going through. One thing I'll also say, if anybody is paying attention to this presentation, we have available funding for more customers. We've got about 40 signed up so far. We've got about 50 more that we can do. So if you're in the ARCO area and you're not on sewer, reach out.
45 out there now?
We got 40 signed up. About 16 of them has actually been tied in with the grant funds. There's more than that that's already tied in with the grant funds.
Well, liquidate grant funds, that means use them all. But
Yes, sir. Plan review checklist. We did not hit this target, but we're working on our goal, and it's going to be heavily dependent. We had a recent Senate bill passed that this is going to be very important to make sure we have done. We want to have standard plan review checklist to make sure that we're getting completed applications sent to us by private development projects, because we spend a lot of time going back and forth for things not being submitted correctly. So we want to make sure that they have a checklist that they've checked off, that they have submitted everything they're supposed to submit before we ever take a look at it, and have that posted on our website. Transparent and accountable. We want a financial metrics dashboard. We are doing well financially because of the decisions the boards have made over the years, and we're able to maintain consistent rates. So our goal is to have a metrics dashboard on our website by July 1st. We have all of these goals. One of the things that we found is not a lot of our staff is always paying attention to those goals. So we're now going out and having individual goal displays at the staff so they walk past them every day. One of those sort of think of the old number of days since you had a time lost accident. It's just a constant reminder of what we're working towards. And staff recognition, one of the things we do, we've been doing this year, our goal is to have 100 of them, which is about 2 a week. is we get pictures put on our social media of our crews out there working, and they do great work. A lot of people don't understand what they're doing. We get to showcase some of the really exciting things we do, but also our team gets to be the kind of the star of the day when they happen to have their picture posted online. So those get a ton of traction for us, so they're very, very helpful. And we try to spread the love around to everybody. We even had finance on there the other day. So valuing and investing in our employees. We want to reduce turnover. We had a huge turnover rate last year. Some of it was voluntary. A lot of it was involuntary. So we had a huge turnover rate last year. So we want to reduce that by 50%, which sounds like an astronomical reduction. But we had over 40 employees in turnover last year. So we're trying to get that to around 20, which still is more than we need, but we need to get that number down. Knock on wood, we're doing okay so far this year. Video SOPs. SOP, standard operating procedures. Anybody that's ever wrote one or read one realizes how frustrating they can be and how boring they can be. So what we want to start doing is creating video SOPs for our guys to actually see the way they're supposed to do things in the field on a video form, because reading it on a piece of paper versus seeing somebody actually doing that does not always mesh up well. Targeted training. A part of every one of our performance appraisals, annual performance appraisals, all employees will get a list of at least 3 virtual training classes they have to attend, not counting other training they go to, but we're really pushing out a lot of virtual training about communication and ways we can be more efficient for some of our managers. We're sitting through classes now on ways we can leverage AI to be more efficient on our administrative tasks and things like that. Continually striving for improvement. We want to have a distribution pressure network. This sounds counterintuitive. We want to put water pressure monitors at our sewer lift stations. But all of our sewer lift stations have a water service line to them. So we want to put water pressure monitors at 50% of our lift stations, because that gives us a more holistic view of what is actually going on in our water distribution system. We can then tie that back to SCADA and have a live pressure map going on in our system. That is budgeted for us to purchase approximately 80 of those pressure transducers in the fiscal year 27 budget. Grease interceptor inspections. Part of the reorganization we did in wastewater was to increase the amount of people we had involved with pretreatment, because previously we were not proactively inspecting grease traps throughout the county. Now we are actively going out and inspecting grease trap. We're already about 20% through the system, and we've got 3 individuals working on that right now. And I believe it's paying dividends. Most people we have found are doing what they need to do, but we found a few that aren't necessarily following through the program as best they need to, and we're trying to help them get back into compliance with what they need to be doing. We just smoke tested about 1 million linear feet of pipe, and so we found several defects. It sounds like a lot, but a lot of them are minor defects. So our goal is to correct 50% of our smoke testing defects. We're already about 15% of the way through that process as well. Award-winning utility. We want to win awards for both water and sewer. We have won multiple water awards. We have yet to win one for sewer. We're working with staff on getting a lot of that has to do with the paperwork side of things that was never built out, like SOPs and things like that are required. But we have won the GAWP Distribution Excellence Award for 5 consecutive years, or 6 consecutive years now. And then at a future meeting, we'll be recognizing one of our operators, Caleb Lavelle. I don't remember how we say his last name. Anyway, he was the top operator for the district, according to GAWP, and was recognized at the Dalton conference last week. Increased licensure. When you come in here every month and we have people getting licenses, that's because we're putting a lot of emphasis on that. Our goal is to get 12 new licenses across the organization, but not only that, 6 of those being a higher level license. So if I'm a wastewater operator, I'm required to have a Class 3 license. I want them to try to go for a Class 2 license. And so we're going through that process. I think we've already got 3 or 4 licenses so far this year. We've got 2 being recognized tomorrow for increasing their licenses. And then wellness, we have a wellness program trying to get people to participate. We had solid participation last year in this building. We had very minor participation outside of this building. So we're trying to increase participation amongst the field personnel as best we can. And that, obviously, we spend a little bit of money on some of the wellness program, but hopefully if we're all more committed to wellness, that will indirectly impact our group insurance costs moving forward. And these are the capital expenditures that are listed in the budget. These do have to come back before you for approval. As a few years ago, we updated the purchasing policy to require that. You'll note I said we were not doing any fleet purchases. Planning and construction needs a new plotter and scanner. That is the big printer and scanner that does plan sets. It's about a $9,000 piece of equipment. It's a very expensive printer, but that thing gets used extensively. Wastewater, we need a new incubator at the Academy Creek Lab and a new spectrophotometer at the Academy Creek Lab. Those are about $21,000 worth of lab equipment. We need to replace the reuse pumps at Academy Creek. We have reuse pumps for internal plant water, and we've priced out a skid-mounted system that's easy to swap over. That's $86,000. Aerator motors at Dunbar Creek, the digesters at Dunbar Creek, the motors on those mixers need to be replaced. Those are $6,000 a piece, and we need 7 of them. It's for $42,000. We need to replace 2 belt press transfer pumps. That's what feeds the belt press at Dunbar Creek. Those are $6,500 a piece, and anything over $5,000 is a capital item, so that's $13,000. We need a new polymer system at Southport. That's about $20,000. Those are skid-mounted polymer systems that that mix along the way. We need new return sludge pumps at Southport. 2 of those will be $15,000. We need to rebuild the existing blower at Southport. We're budgeting $9,000 for the rebuild because it will extend the life of the blower. And we need a new air compressor. We have pneumatic systems on the belt press and the UV system that require air compressor, and we're constantly working on that air compressor at Southport. That's an $8,000 air compressor. Again, all of these items will be brought back before you for consideration at that time, and most of those will be in either July or August as we jump on them at the beginning of the fiscal year. And historical expenses, you can see we have some ups and downs throughout the years, but costs have been rising pretty significantly in some areas. But the one thing that also has risen, we went up from about $7.8 million in projects to about $10.8 million in projects in the last 4 years. So we're trying to be wise with the way we're spending project dollars as we get more expensive projects going on.
I have a question. Typically in a building department in a county or a city, it is run on a budget neutral basis, meaning the expenses that they charge people for permitting so equal what the expenses of the department. Where do we sit in something like that?
We are nowhere close.
Nowhere close.
Nowhere close. So like the only really permitting fees we charge are the plan review fees. And we get about $40,000 a year for that. And we have about 5 people that take part in that procedure. And their fully loaded costs all individually are more than $40,000.
I was thinking that, yeah.
What's our debt service reserve?
Debt service reserve? We don't have a debt service reserve.
We have to have a reserve.
You talking about our coverage?
Yeah,
It's
coverage.
about 5.5, I believe, at the last audit.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We're only required to have a 1.1. Our financial documents say a goal is a 2, but I think at our debt service coverage was over 5 at our last audit.
And we're still paying on that bond.
Got a bond draw supposed to go through tomorrow. Hang on just a second. I'll tell you exactly what it is because I can pull up the audit report. Not com.org.
.com.
Sorry, it was 5.5 last year. It's 4.72 this year. I knew I remembered 5.5.
That was in the audit.
That was in the audit, yes, sir. So we do have additional debt coverage availability should we need to issue additional debt in the future,
Means we can double our debt.
theoretically. As long as revenues and expenses stay the same, yes.
That's a good qualifier.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Like I said, I'll be happy to go through as many individual line items as you would like for me to.
I think we're good. There's no-
We've put, I will say, big thanks to our budget team for putting together this budget. Big thanks to our department superintendents and directors that sat through all the budget meetings with us and ask a lot of questions that they really don't always like having to answer, so.
All right, I'll entertain a motion here. I don't think we have any motion.
Yeah, I was going to say, here's the motion right there. We did not get, my fault for not catching this, we did not get the memos printed. I sent the memos to her well before I sent the actual budget, and
We have the
so,
three of them there.
so there it is at the bottom. Well, stop that. There it is at the bottom. It's a longer budget because when we approve the budget, what we do is we submit that to the city and the county for review per our operating agreement, and then we would theoretically then approve the budget subject to any revisions resulting from the city and the county's review. They have never provided comments, but it is a required step per the operating
You
agreement.
just submitted, do you have to present it to them?
We don't present it to them, we submit it directly to them. So Ms. McDuffie and Mayor Johnson get a copy of it, and then Mr. Fallon and Commissioner Neal is the chair of the county commission, so he would get a copy of
Another
it as well.
copy.
Another copy. He shouldn't have a whole lot of comments on it.
I wouldn't think so.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll move that the Finance Committee recommend the full commission take the following actions. That we approve submissions of the proposed fiscal year 2027 JWSC budget to the City of Brunswick and to Glynn County for their review and comment, along with approve the fiscal year 2027 JWSC budget in the amount of $42,524,000, subject to revisions resulting from comments received from the City of Brunswick and/or Glynn County.
I'll second the motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Passes 2-0. Thank you very much. We are now on to the contract award for the water SCADA and electrical rehab phase 1 services.
Yes, sir. So this was presented to our facilities committee. Currently, we have two separate SCADA systems for water production. We have an existing SCADA system that's a DFS system that is not an open architecture system. It's proprietary and nothing talks with it but DFS. Well, we've transitioned all of our wastewater assets to a VT SCADA system, and all of our newer assets for water, those water production facilities you're talking about, what we've done on rehab on well sites and at elevated storage tanks, to VT SCADA. So a portion of this project is convert that entire DFS system to VT SCADA. The other portion of this is in our 2021 master plan update. One of the projects listed was that we had well facilities on St. Simons that were at the end of their useful life for their electrical systems. So this is to replace the electrical systems at the Mallory Airport and Harrington Wells on St. Simons Island. This is being done via a progressive design build delivery. So what they will do is what the recommendation is to hire a firm to do what's called phase 1 services. They will get to a 30% design, and at that 30% design, they will give us what is known as a guaranteed maximum price. So, and then it's open book pricing up to that point, and they have to stay underneath that unless there's a significant change in scope. The board gets the opportunity to review phase 2, which is that GMP, and can elect at that point to either move forward or not move forward. But they would be compensated for phase 1 services regardless of if their contract is awarded for phase 2. We received one proposal for this project from Electric Machine Control out of Trustville, Alabama. Average score of 91.7 from the 3-member team out of 100. EMC will utilize local electrical subcontractor Jam Electric for the installation of the electrical equipment, hanging of the panels, everything like that. EMC will do the terminations and the programming, and then Chatham Engineering will do the electrical design. The Chatham Engineering is in Savannah. They've done an extensive amount of electrical design services for us. Phase 1 services paid to Electric Machine Control would be $250,000. They also were required to submit an overhead and fee percentage that will be added to phase 2 services if those are awarded. Again, it is open book, so you get a labor charge. John makes $20 an hour, so his labor's in there for 1 hour, and then you add what their fees are, 10% for overhead and 6% for their markup on top of that, and you get that level of detail on the projects. High-level cost estimates so far, they indicate a $3.5 million project. But again, I think I think we'll see that number come in under that budget. The combined budget right now between the two projects is 2.6 million, so we're going to try to whittle that down closer to the 2.6. Upon the notice to proceed, EMC has committed to providing a guaranteed maximum price for Phase 2 services within 120 days, which puts us somewhere September, October timeframe, bringing something to you for Phase 2 services. At this point, the request is to approve Phase 1 services in the amount of $250,000.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee recommend awarding a contract to EMC Inc. for Phase 1 services for water production, SCADA, and electrical upgrades project in the amount of $250,000.
I'll second the motion on that. Does this give us an opportunity for some value engineering along the way?
Yes, so part of the reason that I and a lot of the staff is very much in favor of this progressive design build is they will come in and say, if this is what you want to do, we can do this. This is the cost of doing it this way. This is the cost of doing it the other way. And we actually get those hard costs. When we're going for a bidding project, we're selecting how we want it done, and they're just going to price it.
Right.
And so this gives us an opportunity to evaluate some of those options along the way.
Good. All right, any discussion or questions on this? All those in favor? That passes 2-0. All right, this is item number 5, the USGS Joint Funding Agreement, annual activity.
Yes, sir. So for several years, we've entered into what's known as a joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey to monitor the migration of chlorides throughout the upper Floridan aquifer. And this is a key long-term planning device for us as growth continues and the plume's relative location to Brunswick-Villa well that is currently in use. In the past, I will note that we have had to close one of our wells. The Perry Park well was grouted up as a result of saltwater intrusion. So funding has continued for many years, and this allows us to get a understanding of the plume's movement, particularly with Pinova shutting down. We have seen some adjustments in that. This year's proposed funding agreement is the JWSC will provide $84,450, which is actually a reduction of $550. First reduction we've had in about 10 years. So that's good to see, even if it is only $450. The agreement is there. I will note, I did not get this until after March 1st, so we were not going to meet the March 1st deadline in the letter. But it is what it is. And there is a lot of the documentation here. I did talk to Dr. Cherry, who is the individual that conducts the testing and monitoring, asked if he could be down here to present the findings of it, and he said he'd be happy to come do that, but he was not available for this meeting. So we can do that at a future facilities committee meeting, should you like.
He's still doing it, huh?
He's still doing it. He is a absolute genius when it comes to these sorts of things, and this is a good tool for us. Like I said, we've seen, if you can just kind of see there, the T-shaped plume that we're talking about. You can see one thing to note, this is the data as of October 2024. You'll note some oranges and some yellows. But if you see in 2020, there were some reds, and the cooler the color, the lower the concentration of the salt water. So we're actually seeing improvements in that as we go along. So a lot of that has to do with reduction in withdrawals from obviously Pinova closing, but also Brunswick Cellulose is reducing their withdrawal annually. So good to see that that's actually being maintained. We're not in the situation where you are, say, up in the Savannah area where it's impossible to drill wells. And so we want to make sure we don't get into that area. This is budgeted annually in the Office of the Director's budget, which is why the Office of the Director's budget seems like it may have too much money in it, but that's because $85,000 goes out at one time.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee recommend the full commission enter into a joint funding agreement with USGS in the amount of $84,450 for the continuation of groundwater water monitoring in the upper Floridian aquifer.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion on this matter? Hearing none. All those in favor? Carries 2-0. Item number 6, which is the ESRI 3-year license renewal.
Yes, sir. So ESRI is the software provider for our GIS system. GIS is used by literally every division here and is used extensively for all of our field groups and is tied to our CityWorks software, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But ESRI in 2023 decided that we had to get our own small utility enterprise agreement. We used to piggyback on the counties. And so it's time for another 3-year renewal. The cost to renew the subscription to the Esri software is $112,800 for 3 years, or $37,600 annually. This is a budgeted line item in the planning and construction annual budget.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee recommend the full commission renewal of the small utility enterprise agreement with Esri in the amount of $112,800.
I'll second the motion. Question, where are we with the new GIS server? Are we moving along on the project?
Well, let me show you, sir. It's working.
It's working.
It's working.
I thought it looked a little peppy there.
Yeah, this is the new server that it's working on. It is moving faster. It's not loading any faster, but once it loads, it moves faster than it did before. So we're moving along.
That's great.
It is good. That was a good investment, so. And essentially, this product is really a single source vendor because there really isn't anyone that can come close to the kind of.
Yeah,
Delays.
there's so many things that are tied to this that unwinding this would be very challenging.
No doubt, so. All right, any other questions on this matter? Hearing none,
Is Georgia Pacific paying into this?
Yeah.
okay. All those in favor? Passes 2-0. All right, item number 7, fiscal year 2027 City Works ELA renewal.
Yes, sir. Similar to what we just did, this is an annual enterprise license agreement renewal with Azteca Systems, who is now owned by Trimble. And this is the subscription for our City Works asset management system. Cost is up 2.4% over last year's, which is actually lower than it usually
Right.
is, about a 5% increase.
Yeah.
So I'll take the 2.4%. The cost to renew for fiscal year 2027 is $52,271.75. This is budgeted across multiple operating budgets.
And again, this is the kind of software that is critical to our daily function.
This is the software that all of our field crews use to get their work orders every day.
So work orders, inventory.
Inventory goes through this. CCTV footage is all
Everything's
cataloged into this, yes.
Right, that's good.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that the Finance Committee recommend approving the renewal fiscal year 2027 City Works Enterprise License Agreement with Azteca Systems LLC in the amount of $52,271.75.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor? Passes 2-0. All right, we are now up to the financial statements for month end March 31st. Mr. Owens?
You always save the best for last. Good afternoon. See the financial statements for the month of March 2026. Starting at the top of the balance sheet, current assets, total current assets increased almost 1.2 million to 13.25 million for the month. Most of that was in our cash account, where basically our payments received exceeded payments that we made, and transfers out to other reserve accounts by about $486,000. We also transferred in to our cash account about $846,000 from the SPLOST account to cover cover expenses that we made in previous months. So basically reimbursing ourselves for SPLOST projects from the SPLOST fund. See, restricted cash accounts, most of that change came from the, overall, very little change, only a decrease of $15,000 to the restricted cash balance of $59,367,000. Essentially, we had an increase to our R&R account of $457,000, and a decrease in the SPLOST account. As I indicated just a second ago, we transferred the $846,000 into our revenue account. Also, of course, we received $269,000 from the county for the month, so that offset that transfer out a little bit. Capital assets, which in total only changed a little under $400,000 for the month. We had our normal decrease to our capital assets because of depreciation of about $686,000. The increase that we saw, which was roughly $1,082,000, most of that was Exit 29, where we've added to construction in progress, $846,000. Also, exit 42, $96,000, and Dunbar Creek Clarifier, $68,000. All total, total assets increased $1.56 million for the month to $300,040,718.
Can I ask a question on the construction in progress?
Mm-hmm.
That would be just, what are we doing, taking all the value of everything or what we're spending on,
Exactly.
for the fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And of course, being an asset account, that's also includes any balances that we spent in previous years that have, on projects that have not yet been capitalized.
Right, okay.
For current liabilities increased $776,000. Essentially, that was all in accounts payable. As I mentioned, the projects that are contributing to our increase in construction in progress, exit 29, about $534,000 for the month. Exit 42 project, $91,000 for the month. Non-projects or related spending that increased accounts payable was about $223,000 for the month. And smoke and dye testing contributed $62,000 to our increase in accounts payable for the month. Overall, total liabilities, as seen at the top of page 2, that was an increase of $774,329, bringing that balance to $76,149,580. Page 3, we see our revenue summary and expenses. Once again, revenues for the month in the little over $3 million range, which has been pretty consistent over the course of the year. Slight fluctuations month to month as we do see some seasonality in our business and water and sewer usage. But right now, revenues continue to remain ahead of budget expectations, currently by $3,135,000. Expenses, nothing unusual this month. The usual suspects, of course, are the big expense drivers. And expenses have also been over budget for the year, but $2.5 million over budget, putting us at $22,585,596 for our total expenses so far this year, netting out to a net revenue or a net loss before capital fees of $63,201, which is actually better than our budgeted amount for year to date. Based on our budget, we would have expected a net loss before capital fees of $235,000. So we're running overall almost $172,000 better than budget.
Can I ask one question, Mr. Burrows, on the water revenues? Is a lot of that driven, is it mostly growth or is it weather related at this point?
A lot of it is growth. We've seen a slight uptick in usage per customer is up about 2%, but the bulk of it is just more accounts using water.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Our next page, page 4, excuse me, is a more detailed breakout of our expenses. As usual, the big drivers are in finance and wastewater, finance being where we hold our group insurance. And we saw $204,000 for group insurance this past month. See, the wastewater operations, biggest expenses this month were, of course, oxygen and electricity. So oxygen coming in at $234,000 for the month, electricity at $127,000 for the month. Going to the next page, we have a report that we present quarterly based on our group insurance costs. We've changed this a little bit to remove some what I felt was unnecessary statistical data that basically never changes and is what some of our group insurance calculations were based on. The significant part that's always pointed out each quarter is still here. Currently, we're showing $1,932,605 for group expenses year to date. Those are running a bit higher than what we've seen in past years. Of course, we've noted in some of our previous monthly meetings that group expenses or group insurance expenses did start out significantly higher in this year in the months of August, September, and October. We started seeing some refunds, rebates coming in January, February, and again in March, which have helped offset some of those increases, but still running pretty high, and a significant budget overage for the year-to-date at almost $700,000.
So this is the cost as of March 31st.
That is the cost as of March 31st, but
Okay.
as we talked about previously, we believe there is a lag on the stop loss, since we're being reimbursed for that stop
Right.
loss,
Yeah.
that has not been provided to us yet.
And do you have a projection for the rest of the fiscal year total?
I think we'll probably end up somewhere around the $2.3 million range by the time everything's done.
Considering if you look back at the history, when we were actually fully funded, the 1.8, it's not really significantly a large amount or
Not
larger
compared to what it
amount.
would be if we were still fully funded.
I can't even begin to
Yeah,
imagine.
we'd probably be close to $3 million if we
Hadn't
were fully
switched to
funded at this point.
Self-funded, yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody stays healthy.
Amen.
The next two pages, 6 and 7, this is our cash report. I've essentially discussed any of the significant changes here when I spoke about our current assets, our revenue deposit account, the R&R reserve, the SPLOST reserve. So the only things that I would really note on these two pages, the breakdown of our total cash and investments, which currently sits at $66,403,000. About 18.3% of that is in overnight cash, 70.1% in investments, and 11% held by trustees.
So our SPLOST, we're spending as much money as comes in.
Well, as of March 31st, we were not, but we cut invoices last week. We've now outspent the SPLOST account.
So we're spending more money than we're getting in.
Right, so I mentioned that at the Facilities Committee, and we'll say it again here. Ultimately, as soon as we're collecting SPLOST money, we're spending it. We've got, these are necessary projects. We're getting ahead of them, getting these things done. And as we will continue to spend ahead, we'll, as Mr. Owens mentioned earlier, we'll pay ourselves back when the SPLOST comes in.
So,
Right, which is actually kind of a nice problem to have,
I
as
was
opposed
gonna
to
say,
past years when we've had delay after delay on some projects,
Right.
and now things are kind of humming along.
Right.
But next page, page 8, our investment portfolio summary. We did see a large fair market value decrease in the month of March, basically geopolitical events threw all markets into a bit of an upheaval for the month.
Right.
They've bounced back significantly in the last week or two. But that did drop our unrealized gain on our overall portfolio down from $217,000 to $52,500. We're still getting above 4% on our yield to market, and all is going well with our investments. Final two pages of the report are, of course, the project report. The only significant items of note are increased encumbrances for the last two projects listed on page 9, the Academy Creek Clarifier and the Arco Community Septic Conversion. Those two, the encumbrances increased respectively $273,000 and $100,000. And that concludes our
Any other
financials.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank your team, please, for all the work.
Yes,
Appreciate
great
it.
job on the budget.
Yes. All right, does anyone have any other matters? All right, I'll accept the motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
and I'll second, and we are